right, for those of you who are watching this after the fact, not watching live, we're going to jump right into the conversation of why only the 1% succeed and achieve their dreams and do the things that they most want to do in their lives. Welcome back to the Movement Warriors. It's BC, otherwise known as Bryant Chambers, here at the Bryant Chambers Movement. Want to share some nuggets of wisdom with you tonight, whenever you may be watching. That ultimately is not my original ideas. You're going to find that good artists copy and great artists steal, and I am a master at stealing from other smart people who have shared things with me that have improved my life. Hello, Moonlight, good to see you. Uh, and paying it forward to people who may not have access to the information or just haven't come across it. So tonight, I was thinking about what could I address the crowd with, and what came to mind was a conversation that I had earlier today with some of my clients. So many of you that follow me regularly know that in many different ways, shapes, or forms, I am a coach and or a consultant. So I have a marketing program where a product that I sell where I actually coach people how to DIY their social media, whether it's to build influence or whether it's to add value to their business, reach more customers, whatever it is. Also serve as an agency owner where I come and help clients build their business for them using social media. But today I was talking to, and I have various other coaching programs for personal development and things of that nature. But today I was talking with a group of people on my social media program, which we call the Social Media Ninja Academy, which, at the risk of sounding arrogant, it's a phenomenal course because we focus, and I say we because it's not just me who runs it. I have a team of people who've helped me. We build so much of what I do here into the program to help people. Like Tony Robbins often talks about, if you want a business to be amazing, you have to have the person that's running the business be amazing, because your business isn't going to be better than you are. No more than your social media influence is going to be better than you are as a person. And I don't mean whether you're good or evil. I mean, when you're in a good place, you're able to give value to people in a very tangible, very significant way, such that they want to give you of their time, give you of their resources in exchange for what you do. And in this program, I spend a lot of time focusing on developing the right mindsets. And ultimately, the answer to the question of why the 1% succeed, it's because they have systems in place that allow them to maintain, or really not just allow them, but they have systems in place that keep their mind on the right things that ultimately leads to success and leads to winning in the whole nine. And today, I felt somewhat, the word's not guilty, but I felt like I had let my people down a little bit, because I talk a lot about mindset, but you can never really talk about it enough. And some of my clients were upset about some of the changes that YouTube is going through, which for a creator who's just getting started today, who's fighting just to get 10 people to watch their videos, I know that struggle wholeheartedly. I've been on YouTube since the days when it was the golden days and struggled back then. And the struggle of, I just want people to pay attention to this wonderful thing that I've created, and nobody's watching, nobody cares. And that's frustrating. And then on top of that, it's even more frustrating when it feels like the platform that you're doing it on is fighting against you. And so we had some people get frustrated, and even one of the guys that I coach wanting to quit, not necessarily quit the program, because he's been in the program, he's finished the program, but he wanted to quit YouTube. And what I really had to center everybody back to was, and this can apply obviously to very different places in life besides just YouTube, but what I had to bring everybody back to was the idea that, one, we have to take control of our own destiny. We have to understand that we're the captain. We are the owner and keeper of our destiny. Not YouTube, not Facebook, not social media. We are the ones that ultimately determine whether we win or lose, succeed or fail. And in order for us to get the wins we want, we've got to get our minds off of, hey, Dreamer, what's up? Good to see you. We have to get our minds off of the things that aren't moving us forward, okay? So in this case, the people that I was speaking to, and it was just a handful of people, it wasn't like the whole program was up in an uproar, but a couple of people had been discouraged. They started to voice it, and I kept reiterating mindset, mindset, mindset. You're very angry, you're very frustrated, and you're venting. I get it. It's but you can't stay there. If you want to win long term, you cannot blame circumstances. You cannot blame the world. You cannot blame what your parents did to you. We all have that story, right? We can't blame circumstances and other people got more opportunities than I did, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for the reason why we're not winning. If we want to win in any significant measure, we have to take responsibility and ownership for our lives and for the things. We have to own the fact that the reason why things aren't going the way we want them to specifically in our lives is on us. And that's not a blame game. That's taking responsibility. And by the way, it's why the winners win, because they take ownership when they miss the shot. They take ownership when something doesn't go their way. And they realize, I missed the shot. Maybe it's because I didn't take enough shots in practice. Maybe I didn't practice enough. Oh, lost a client. Well, maybe it's because I didn't give enough. And sometimes it's like you feel like you give and you give and you give and you lose a client. Well, maybe it's not that you didn't give enough. Maybe you didn't. Like I had this happen to me where I lost a client. And it happens. I mean, if you've been in business for any length of time, you're going to lose a client, believe me. And I lost a client, and I couldn't fathom, like, what? I did everything right. I did everything right for this client, from the planning to setting up the strategy to doing the execution. I did so well for this client that, you know, I was getting accolades from the platforms where I was doing the work. Why would they still cut me? And when I thought about it deeply, I was like, you know why? Because before I took on that client, my instincts were telling me, don't take this client. They're not in a place where they can afford you long term. And this is going to be a person who wants to be completely hands off and just wants you to run with it, but isn't going to be like, you can't just do that. Like you can't, for example, when I was younger and used to invest my money before I got actively involved in it, I used to just give my money to my financial planner and be like, dude, that's what I pay you for. Go make me rich. I didn't want to be involved. But he's like, dude, how can I make you rich if I don't know where you are, what your goals are, what you want to invest in? Like I can advise you if you have a conversation with me. And I had a financial planner that was very adamant and persistent about getting me into his office so much that I finally did. And it was a helpful learning situation for me because I realized I needed to not be so hands off. But the point there is, had I been paying attention to my own heart, my own instincts, I wouldn't have taken the client, because the truth of the matter is I didn't vet the client properly. And it ultimately led to me losing the client. It's my fault. It's not that the client is a jerk or it's not their fault at all. It has everything to do with me doing everything right. And when it doesn't go my way, sorry guys, my nose is itchy because I have allergies here. I know I'm scratching my nose on video, but when we take ownership for that, it empowers us. When you take ownership, you give yourself the power. When you blame everyone else, when you blame YouTube for the reason why you're not succeeding, you're giving your power away to YouTube. Instead of saying, the system doesn't work the way I want it to work. I hate that it's this way. I mean, granted, there's things about YouTube that frustrate me. I mean, they've taken privileges away from me. I've been on the platform serving them content that's gotten millions of people to watch it. And they still take stuff away from me because, for example, I won't monetize this channel. I refuse to, despite the fact that I see little blue pop-ups on my screen all the time that say, don't you want to make money on these videos? No, YouTube, I don't want to make 15 cents on this video that got 100,000 views. And I'll get paid 15 cents, you'll get paid whatever, and then my viewers are upset. But if I sit and stay dwelling on that, I'm not going to be dwelling on the win, which the win is the long game. It's one day I will have millions of followers on YouTube. If YouTube still exists in that future, I will eventually have millions of followers. It's just the way it goes, because I know, first of all, my content is good enough, but more importantly, my content is created to serve people in a way that's very, very valuable. No, not everybody sees it that way, but I don't need to reach everybody. But if I'm blaming YouTube and I'm blaming my fans, like, oh, why do only people watch my videos? Here's one. Why do people only watch my videos when I make INFP content? Well, because stupid, that's what people want to watch. And you can either be mad about that, or you can accept the fact that your numbers are going to be down when you don't make INFP content. That's what most people want to see, and that's what YouTube wants you to create because that's what gets you the most attention. So YouTube is even involved in throttling whether or not my content gets out to people because it's in their best interest to make sure only the stuff that's really going to get a lot of attention gets views. I mean, I can sit here and be mad about that, or I can just make content for the people I want to make it for, accept the fact that it's only going to reach 300 people instead of 50,000, and be okay with that because maybe those 300 people are people that I reach and end up doing business with one day. Or maybe one of them becomes the prime minister of Canada and she remembers one day this guy named Brian changed my life and she has me come speak at the thing. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you just never know. And when I'm too busy fussing about the program, I'm not busy serving other people. And by the way, serving other people is how you get where you want to go. Now, while I'm talking, I'm going to pull up my YouTube channel because I see a lot of you are leaving lengthy comments, which leads me to believe that you have questions. So I want to make sure I don't miss any of that before I adjourn for the evening. But first and foremost, why the 1% win is mindset. If you hadn't taken that away from tonight's discussion, that's what's happening. It's all about mindset. It's all about focusing on what you need to do to win instead of focusing on the circumstances surrounding why you're not winning. It's taking ownership. Um, I don't really have a better way to say it other than it's taking ownership for your outcomes. Your outcomes are based on your choices, right? It's just the way it is. And for some reason, we've been taught to blame everyone else for when stuff goes wrong. And granted, one of the reasons why this comes easier to me than I think for most people is because of my military background, right? You're taught. I've been taught since I was 17 years old. You take ownership. You make a mistake. You own up to it. You fix it, and you rock on, right? But the military also provides an environment when you fess up to your mistakes. Usually, there's grace. There's okay, you messed up. Now go fix it, right? Some people grew up in families where you messed up and you got beaten, right, or worse. And I'm not making that up. I've been there too. But we can't blame the environment for why we're not winning because I coached a kid in football who came from a decent family, eventually got wrapped up in gangs, and he was the sweetest kid on the planet. I promise you, if you met this kid before everything went down, your heart would have broken like mine did. It's one of the sweetest kids, talented kid, probably could have played at least at the college level. And before I finished, because I was in college when I was coaching this team, and found out before I graduated from college that he had fallen in with the wrong crowd. He was trying to fit in. I think he had a single mom, didn't have a dad at home, and he was trying to find his place. So he fell in with these thugs who were initiating him into a gang, and they had him armed rob a convenience store. And he did, and that would have been the end of it because he probably would have gotten away with it. But he went back in and shot the guy at the counter. And if you knew this kid the way I did, that wasn't him. He was coerced into this, right? But in that same neighborhood, I worked with a girl who literally grew up in a crack house. And when I was coaching her, like when I talk about coaching, guys, I've been coaching forever. It's not new. It used to actually be my job back in these days. And same neighborhood, I was coaching. It was a job education training program run by one of the football coaches at the college where I went to school. Uh, Really awesome guy. And it was basically he created a program to help inner city youth get training and get better jobs. And so I was one of the coaches he brought in to help. And I was coaching this girl who grew up in a crack house. She was by far our best student, honor roll. I think she graduated near the top of her class. So how does she grow up in a crack house and end up being awesome? And my other buddy, I don't want to say anybody's names, but the other kid that I work with grew up in an okay family, but ends up committing an armed robbery and then a murder. It's mindset, guys. And if you don't protect what's going on between your ears and what's going on in your spirit, right, you're going to focus on the wrong things. But let me give you why. Let me tell you why it's so hard for us to focus on the right things and win. Okay, so I'm going to give you a slight in your defense situation here, okay? One of the reasons why it's so hard for us to focus on the right things is because for thousands of years, our brains have evolved to survive. Keyword, pay attention to that. Our brains have evolved to survive by paying attention to what's wrong. Example, several thousand years ago, you were going hunting, you left the village, and on your way out to go hunting, one of your friends was coming back from a hunt. He had an elk or whatever on his back, and he says, "Hey, dreamer, listen, don't take your normal route to go hunt the elk today. I saw a saber-toothed tiger. And if you go down that route, you're going to get eaten." And you said, "Okay, brother, thank you." And you go around the other way, you get your elk, and you come home. Fast forward to 2018, we no longer live in those dire straits, but we still have that same brain that's learned how to stay alive by paying attention to negativity. So one of the reasons why it's so hard for you to focus on what you need to be focusing on is that you are trained to survive by focusing on negativity. By the way, television takes advantage of this. This is why I tell so many of you stop watching so much TV. I'm not saying don't watch TV. Like if you enjoy Game of Thrones or whatever the thing is that you like watching, it's fine. But my point is, don't give so much of your attention to something that's not intended to help you. It's like eating TV to me is like eating McDonald's. You could do it once in a while to be fine. If you eat it every day, it'll kill you, quite literally. And so TV is the same way, and especially the news. By the way, people used to always ask me, why is the news so negative? Because they've learned that your brain pays attention to negativity and fear. And if they can keep your attention long enough, they can get you into a commercial where they'll sell you something that fixes what you're now afraid of, right? Or get you to vote for a bill. Like, we got to get these assault rifles off the streets. Or one of my favorites is, we have to get these automatic weapons off the street. Like most weapons are automatic now, guys. Like, not too many people shooting 6-shooters anymore. You know, and I get what they mean. They mean full automatic. But by the way, most full automatic. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the gun discussion. But the point is, we're trained to focus on negativity is the point. And if we want to succeed, we've got to train ourselves out of that. So we've got to go deeper than just this conscious way of thinking and start really digging into the spirit behind our thoughts, right? Our spirit. You know, Tony Robbins says it this way: when a child is conceived, it has a heart before it has a brain. And that heart has intelligence. And I believe that. Now, granted, I think that's also a spiritual thing. Some of you are not spiritual or atheists. That's okay. But we'll agree. I think we'll all meet in the middle and agree that there is some level of intelligence beyond us that has helped what's going on in the universe. Right? The idea that there was nothing and then there was an explosion and then there were things is no less ridiculous than me believing that a cosmic entity came to Earth in the form of a baby and saved everybody. Right? And I'm not saying which one is right or wrong. The point is we can agree on probably there's something more intelligent than us kicking it in the expanse of what we call existence that we're just not able to perceive. And the reason why I think we can't perceive it is because we're trying to perceive it with the most limited part of our thinking, which is the brain, instead of really digging in to the spirit of things. Right? That emotional, you've heard about emotional intelligence. Right? And I call it spiritual intelligence. And you've got to get practiced on keeping your mind on the right things. But to do that, you got to understand that in order to fix a problem, you got to understand why the problem is the way it is. Well, I just gave it to you. The reason why it's so hard, the reason why the people in my coaching program freaked out today is because they're trained, oh my God, all these things are going wrong. And that's how they've survived. But the problem is they're not trying to survive. They're trying to thrive. And the thinking that gets you to survive is the opposite of the thinking that gets you to thrive. right? Focusing on negativity will help you survive to a degree, but it won't help you thrive because it's a famine mindset. It's there's not enough to go around, so we have to take advantage of other people so that we can have more. It's led to a lot of the challenges we have in the world today. Is that famine mentality. And by the way, that famine mentality has been promoted in some cases by the people who know better. And some of those people that know better are the ones with a lot of money. You know, once upon a time, Rene Rothschild was quoted as saying, I think you can read this in the Lessons of History. I think this is where I read it. Um, I care very little for a nation's politics if I control its money. Something that he said about that, right? And I'm not getting into the whole Illuminati conspiracy theory silliness. I'm just saying there's a lot of smart people in this world that have, you know, even Warren Buffett talks about the I wouldn't be so rich if it wasn't for the ignorance of other human people. So people who are in the know can benefit from the ignorance of others. And I'm not even saying necessarily in a malicious way. You know, I pay Nike to make me shoes because I'm pretty ignorant. You like my ghetto water bottle? So I drink out of these. I was talking on an earlier video. I drink out of these because I can get a lot of water all at once without having to go keep going back to the fridge. But I'm not talking about maliciously taking advantage of people. I pay Nike to make my shoes because I'm not particularly skilled at making shoes. I'm just not probably never going to be, right? Some people pay me to come into their businesses and help them do their marketing, not just because they don't have the know-how, but it makes more sense for them to pay someone else because they will save time and be able to focus on the parts of their business where they are skilled, right? It just makes sense. Right? I hire people, for example, to do a lot of my visual arts because uh, they're better at it than me and they can do it 1,000 times faster and better. So it makes sense for me to just pay for that. So they are taking advantage in a good way of my ignorance, and it's with my permission. It's not like they're being maliciously taking advantage of me. But you got to get educated on how to get your mind under control, right? There's even old proverbs in the Bible that talk about taking thoughts captive, you know. And in fact, the whole scripture says taking thoughts captive to the obedience of Jesus Christ. And that's kind of a confusing scripture because it's like, what? Jesus wants my thoughts? And it's like, no, it's if Jesus is a representation metaphorically of the truth, then because there's a scripture that says he is the way, the truth, and the life, right? If he is the truth, then we're taking our thoughts and comparing them to what we know to be the truth. And we do that all the time. The problem is what we see as the truth is sometimes off. We see and the problem with that is sometimes we take facts and we treat facts like the truth. The facts are YouTube changed its policies. The truth is it doesn't matter. You can still succeed on YouTube if you do the right things. What most people do is say the truth is, oh, I can't succeed on YouTube anymore because they changed their policies. So part of the challenge too with keeping your mind in check is, and this is where I see a lot of people fail and where I come in to help a lot of people, for example, when I'm coaching them, is you can't do it alone. Like I was at a business mastermind this past weekend. That's why we didn't do a live call last Friday, and where I got the idea to kind of do these nightly hangouts that are a little bit shorter, not the 2-hour sessions that I typically do. And I got so many ideas from being in a room with 100 other business owners who are killing it, right? And I got to give people some ideas in areas where I'm killing it. To the point where even the gentleman running the mastermind is a friend of mine. He gave me a shout out at the end. He's like, you guys got to see what B's doing in the Facebook space right now. He's about to freaking kill it as soon as it really starts to get traction. He's right. It's going to explode. And it's nothing that you guys have seen. This is a private thing that I do for local businesses where I work, or where I live rather. And the point there is we're all trying to figure it out on our own instead of, and part of that's our parents' fault, man. Our parents grew up with insane individualism and independence. But independence and freedom doesn't mean that you don't depend on other people. That's such a myth. Like, he pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and no, he didn't. Like, name the most your most. Matter of fact, let's do this. Let's do an exercise. Keep everybody active and engaged. In the comment section, type your favorite insanely successful person. It could be an actor. It could be Elon Musk. It can be a business owner. It could be an athlete. Name them in the comments. And while you do that, I'm going to look at some of the questions you guys are sending me before I make my next point. Gary Vee, great example, right? So while you guys are doing that, I'll read the comments. So we got Conor McGregor. We got Tim Ferriss, John Green. These are some really good calls, man. Vic Mignogna. I've never ever pronounced his name right. Akira Toriyama. I don't know Akira Toriyama. Or is that a video game developer? Beyonce. There's a good one. Justin Bieber. Brooke laughs at Justin Bieber, but I'm going to give it Danielle Steele. There we go. Okay. He's the creator of DBZ. I knew I saw that name recently. My kids like DBZ. Bessie Coleman, she learned French in order to be a pilot. Wow. Okay. Okay. You can keep listening. Go ahead. Let's keep it going. I like this. I like the interactivity of these live calls way more than the pre-recorded. Joshua says, "You're killing it, Brian Chambers, growing these strong roots." Ty Lopez. Yeah, Ty Lopez. Another example. In fact, I'm going to use Ty in my answer. Tesla, which would be Elon Musk. Friedrich Nietzsche. Yeah, Nietzsche came up with a lot of the modern philosophies that we live by today. 100%. Who else you guys got? What else you guys got? Let me see. I saw a question up here someone asked. Oh, maybe Nikola Tesla. That too. Kelly Armstrong. Kelly Armstrong. Okay, so Joshua says, "Mr. Chambers, what's up, man? I hope he doesn't quit. I would have to look back with that regret knowing it." Oh, okay. That wasn't a question, just a comment. Dreamer saying, "So we should take responsibility for our actions and own up when things go south. Blaming other people when things don't go our way. Well, not only will it not solve anything, it'll make it worse. When you start blaming other people for your failures, you lose control." Let's see. Jordan Peterson. Yeah. Whew. I've had a couple people say, "You remind me of Jordan Peterson." I'm like, I don't even belong in his galaxy. That dude is way beyond me in terms of just sheer intelligence and everything. And everything. He's just a better human being than me. Let's do that. Rollo Tomasi. Tell me who that is. Is that a soccer player or a football player if you're not from America? William Wrigley Jr. Elon Musk. Yep. I like it. Okay. So I'm going to go down the list. You guys can keep listening if you want. I'm going to start with Ty Lopez. So point number 2. So point number 1 was it's all about mindset, right? Point number 2 is no man is an island. You cannot do it by yourself. Bessie Coleman was the first black woman pilot. Freaking awesome. That's outstanding. Point number 2 is no man or woman is an island. You can't do it by yourself. Like, I don't know where we got this idea that we're just going to crush it and take over the world by ourselves. Literally, no one does that. Alexander the Great was tutored by Aristotle, for God's sake. Like, none of these people that we look up to didn't have people help them. Let's start with Ty Lopez. And I'm going to start with him because one of his mentors is someone that's helped me, Joel Salatin. Joel Salatin was the spark that pushed Ty Lopez to where he is today. And if you've ever spent time in real life with Joel Salatin, and I have, not just on like virtual calls that I've been on with Joel Salatin, I have been to Joel Salatin's house, on his farm. I have looked at the animals and like, dude, I spent probably 3-4 hours maybe with Joel Salatin, 3 hours with Joel Salatin, and I became a better person. That's how awesome. If you think about how successful Ty is, and you think about Joel Salatin was one of his mentors, of course Ty is successful. Joel Salatin is an amazing person, right? And that's not it. Gary Vee, his mentors were his mom and dad. His dad ran a multi-million-dollar business. His mom, he always gives credit to her being the one that led him to being so successful, teaching him how important it was to be socially and emotionally aware of other people. She taught him those skills that he used to become a salesman. Tim Ferriss, he just wrote a book called Tribe of Mentors. And if you listen to his podcast, he talks about all the people that have helped him. Conor McGregor, same thing, right? Right? I'm trying to think if I know I don't know any of Conor McGregor's mentors by name, right? Justin Bieber. I mean, come on, Michael Jackson, Usher, like all these people that mentored him, right? Beyonce, pick a singer, Shaka Khan, right? Whitney Houston, right? Cyndi Lauper, Tina Turner, all these people that she had as models to look up to, and some of which helped her. Friedrich Nietzsche was actually, do I have my time zones right? That he was working with Sigmund Freud? I may be off on that one. Um, Jordan Peterson, all the people that instructed him, right? So the point is, all of these people have people helping them, right? Matter of fact, someone said John Green, Bill Gates is one of his mentors. Like, could you imagine? Imagine just for a second. I want you to imagine, literally, like, close your eyes if you have to. Bill Gates is your mentor. How successful do you think? Like, then see yourself in what? And by the way, John Green does not run an IT company. He writes books, right? And Bill Gates is one of his mentors. Could you imagine Bill Gates mentoring you? And then all of a sudden, right? Like, imagine how successful you would be if Bill Gates was one of the people you could call and talk to. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, right? It's ludicrous how many people I run into that think, oh, I can just do this myself. It was funny. One of the funniest situations I ever had when I first started my coaching program for marketing, not my personal coaching program. Um, I had a guy that was thinking about getting into the marketing program. And this is when my marketing program is much more expensive now because it's way better and has a ton more content. Um, when I first started it, first it was free. I gave it to the first couple of people. And then the very, very early people that got in for $5 a month. So with the rates I charge now, the people who got in the beginning would have to be in the program for like, I think it's like 600 years before they will have paid what people pay now, or 60 years, not 600. And it's insane to me that even at that rate, I had a person say, I think I'm gonna get in there. It was five. It was literally five. It was cheaper than Netflix, right? For like in legit monthly one-on-one coaching where we actually talked. It wasn't like a video like this, and then pre-recorded videos. And I had a guy say, you know what, B? Man, these live calls you do for free are so good. I'm just gonna go crush it off of these. I'm gonna win. I don't even need your program. And I was like, my program focuses on making you better. And I didn't argue with him. I said, that's cool, man. And by the way, I hope you win. I hope he calls me and says, I won off your free content. That's a win-win for me. I haven't got that phone call yet, but it made me chuckle because, like, as a person who's lived an entire life and careers with people always mentoring me and coaching me, it's ludicrous to me that this person thought he was going to watch a couple of my live calls where I can't go deep into your specific issues and deal with your life and what's holding you back, which is a huge part of every program I do, right? It was like, and you're just going to win off of some tactics that I talked about. And granted, I get it. My live free coaching calls go in way more depth than most people who sometimes even do paid stuff. And that's kind of sad. I've been in some paid programs that don't give you as much information as a 1 hour video I've done on my other channel, which is sad, but it's cool. I'm not beefing with how people feed their kids, man. Uh, I think there's enough room for everybody to win. I'm just going to win harder. But the point is, the lunacy of, I'm just going to do this myself. Hey, Melanie's here. She says, no man is an island. Cool. It's good to see you, Mel. It's been a while. And so the bottom line is get someone to coach you in whatever area of your life that you're trying to change. Let's say you're trying to get in shape. Pay someone to frickin' beat the crap out of you to get you in shape. Don't go work out at the gym with your other fat, out of shape friends. And by the way, I'm not making fun of anybody for being fat and out of shape. I have been both, right? What I'm saying is don't have the blind leading the blind. Go somewhere with someone who knows how to train you and get results for you. And I don't mean beat the crap out of you like make it not fun. It should be fun. But get someone that knows what they're doing to show you, because could you figure it out with your friends? Yep. And I'll give you an example from my bodybuilding. It's not a career because I get paid for it, but ghetto water bottles, yo. Hashtag ghetto water bottles on Twitter. Um, when I first started bodybuilding, it took me a year to get to a certain level, but it wasn't quite close to where I wanted to be. I wanted to be able to bench press 500 pounds 6 times. I wanted to be able to squat 1,000 pounds 6 times. I wanted to be able to leg press 1,500 pounds 6 times. Like I had all these goals, right? And I was getting stronger and I was getting huge. I was like a freaking Buick, if anyone's old enough to remember what those are. And but I wasn't getting there. So I was like, all right, I need to learn from someone. I don't have access to a trainer, nor do I have really the dedicated time to go pay for a gym membership and do that. I was like, I need to get some level of training though. So I started watching training videos from other successful bodybuilders. There was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I started looking into Jeff Cavalier's training systems. And so I built a system based on what other people were teaching. I stopped trying to do it on my own. And the minute I employed what these people taught me, it took me 6 months to double what took me a year. Think about that. Like I was kind of stagnant. Like I was big and impressing people in the gym because I could incline bench press 315 pounds a bunch of times, which is freaking absurd. But it I got so much further, so much faster once I started to employ the coaching programs that other people made available to me, right? And sometimes people charge for them. The Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff was free. But the point is, get someone to coach you, get someone to show you the roadmap. Because yes, I could have worked for another 3 years to get to my goals, but I was able to do it in 6 months because I got someone smarter than me. And not just smarter than me, I got people who had done it to show me the ropes, right? One of the examples I give in my social media course is we took a guy, and I never take credit for it because he did the work, but we showed him how to employ his smarts and his skills, right? And he went from 50 subscribers to 50,000, right, in the course of about 4 months. That ain't half bad, right? Just by employing some of the things that we taught in the program. And I think he's probably pushing 100,000 now, right? Because YouTube ebbs and flows. Sometimes you get huge growth, oh, it's crazy, and then you get, oh, okay, we're cool, let's slow down a little bit, and then it ebbs and it flows. But the bottom line is he's got steady upward mobility with what he's doing. And to not take credit, he's insanely good at what he does. He works very smart and very hard, and his content is impeccably well created for the audience that he's trying to reach, and it's well targeted, and he does all the tactics right, with a really good strategy. And that's how that's done. Had he continued to do it on his own, my guess is he would have eventually figured it out, but we helped him do it in 4 months instead of 3 years. You see what I mean? So yeah, number one, it's all about mindset. Someone mentioned the obstacle is the way. That's 100% right. Number two, it really comes down to you got to get somebody to show you a roadmap. You got to get someone to coach you. You got to get a personal trainer. And it's not just for physical stuff. It's whatever you're trying to figure out in your life. You're trying to get better at something. Get someone who's skilled at doing that to help you out and to really get you squared away. And I'm not even lying to you. I've watched high-paid professionals botch this because of their pride or, I've been in places in my career on the latter half of it when, like I tell the story about the first job I ever had that paid 6 figures and I wanted to jump off a bridge. Well, part of the problem was I came to that place with so much experience and then was just put in this role that was like, you can print the certificates for the bake sales. That's your job now. It's like, okay, is that really how you want to use all of the skills that I've developed and all the leadership experience? And what I started to realize very quickly in that place was I had, and I was even told in some cases, like, wow, you have more management and supervisory experience than most of us here. Like, imagine that. But they still wouldn't listen to me. Like, I helped run a billionaire's company. I had an idea or two about how effective businesses worked, and I was watching this organization fumble all over itself to the point where all of its customers were pissed. And even its own higher level leadership was sending messages down like, you guys suck. What is the problem in your division? And I proposed more than once, guys, I could help you do this if you just let me show you how smart companies do this. And they just weren't. And they fussed and whined and didn't do it. Um, and what it came down to was I was in this very low level position compared to some of the other people there who were in control. And it was pride. It was, how is this young person, even though he has, alleged, depending on how you weigh it, more leadership experience in higher stakes situations than we do? You know, I can almost guarantee nobody in that group of people had to make split second decisions while being in charge of several people in a place where others are paid to kill you and making split second decisions about whether or not I should shoot this guy who's running toward us and we don't know if he's armed or has an IED, right? Real applied leadership situations, not bake sales. And so, and I'm not saying this to disparage this organization. The point that I'm trying to make is these people were too prideful to listen to a person who had not only seen it done right, had done it right, and was trying to bring some insight from a different perspective to say, hey, our customers probably, but it was egos and it was pride and it was a mess. And it was a bunch of people trying to do it on their own and not take advice from skilled people they had who could help them. So they were mediocre, right? It's just the way it was. And that's how life for all of us will be if we don't let other people in to help us. Like I just told you all, I went to a mastermind. I paid to go to a mastermind that my friend was running. Why did I pay? Because it was right and proper to hand somebody money who I know when I learn from him, even though he's a friend, when I learn from him, I'm going to make more money. I was glad to pay. In fact, I would have gladly paid 10 times what I paid to be there. But he's a kind human soul who decided he didn't want to do that. He wanted to keep it cheap for the people who were in his inner circle. I do the same thing. There's people who have been with me forever who I just tell, like, for example, like the people who joined my marketing program who got in at $5 a month, they've never paid a dime more than that, and they never will. I don't care if the price of that program goes up to $10,000. Those people will never pay more than $5 a month, ever. In fact, some of them, I told them just cancel your payments and I'll still let you stay in because you supported me from the beginning. Right? So it's so important. The reason why the 1% are succeeding is because they're maintaining the right mindset and they're realizing that in order to maintain the right mindset, they've got to get other people to help them do it. They can't do it just by themselves. They've got to get other people to help them do it. Let's take some comments and questions here. I'm sure I missed some stuff. Dreamer says, who is your inspiration? Who do you look up to? Man, way too many people to mention. I'll give you a few. My father, may he rest in peace. My mom, my brothers, man, my uncle, all the people that, I was raised by. I'm the dude who was, you've heard the cliche, it takes a village. I was actually raised by a village. Some of my mentors when I went through high school, my football coaches, one in a handful of coaches in particular who really had an impact on my life, like Darryl Green, who was a professional football player who also coached me to a degree, right? Gave of his time to come to my high school football games and help out. Like that's you're and he was still playing in the NFL when he was coming to my games. Like that's how legit this was. And his brother in arms, Kurt Govea, who was one of our full time coaches, teachers I had. In fact, I'm going to a memorial service. I thought it was tonight and realized it was next week for a teacher that I had that just passed away the other day. Teachers, coaches, college professors, military science professors that really saw potential in me and didn't give up on me when I had really given up on myself, got me over the hump. Mentors when I was an officer in the military. One particular mentor who's passed away, who really got me through a dark time and helped me in my career. He taught me so many principles that I use to run my business now that I could never repay him properly other than making my business as big and as successful as I can possibly make it. So then there's, if you want famous people that I've looked up to, there's probably not a ton of them because I look up more to people who have actually had a tangible effect on my life. There's a couple preachers that you probably know from TV. You may not know them if I name them, who've had an impact on my life. Like Joyce Meyer, she really, I looked up to her and still do in a lot of ways, knowing where she came from. She catches a lot of flack now because she makes a lot of money and blah, blah, blah. But if you saw the amount of people she was helping, myself included, and you saw where she came from, I think you may rethink that. Um, yeah, man. Tony Robbins, Joel Salatin, all these people. Joe Soto is who I was talking about, who was running the mastermind this weekend. I'd be here all night naming people. Taj Marie says, I think the issue with parenting is the fact that parents treat children as extensions of themselves. Even they acknowledge that there is a different disposition. There's still an implicit bias. Okay. Sister Hipster says, it's all in who you know, it seems. It's not in who you know, it's in who knows you. There's an important distinction in that. Abram says, I love how you mentioned Jordan Peterson to touch on psychology. What do you think are the few habits of the 1%? So it's exactly what I'm talking about on this call. The habits are they control their thinking. They control it. They're not at the mercy. Ty Lopez calls it being the bitch of your own brain. Most people are. Most people are. 99% of the people I run into are the bitch of their own brain. They get worried about nonsense that doesn't matter and get bent out of shape. It's like, dude, take a shower, do a push up. What are you fussing about? Give me a break, you know. And lemmings, like people just, oh my God, if we don't get this report done, World War III, it's World War III is going to be fine. It's not happening. Calm down, right? And some of you that work in jobs, you know what I'm talking about. Like I've seen this a million times. Like, if we don't get this, like, just, shh, no one's dying. We're not losing money. Someone's going to be uncomfortable for 8 seconds. We're going to be fine. Stay cool. Right? And the 1% all have coaches. Michael Jordan, Denzel Washington, Beyonce. We named a bunch of people. They all have coaches. In fact, some of those people go to coaches like Tony Robbins, man. Like Hugh Jackman went to Tony Robbins. I don't know if you guys know that. Hugh Jackman got coached by Tony Robbins to deal with some of the things in his past. And look at how successful he is right now. There's a reason for it, man. What other questions are here? So sorry for the awkward silence there. I'm just going through, looking at the questions. Random question from Justin Miller. It says, how many hours a day do you work to be most effective? Honestly, it's not necessarily the amount of hours. Like I know people like Gary Vee preach, I work 18 hours a day. Yeah, that's probably true for me too. But you know, my work is not just business. I also have a very large family. It really, the bottom line is I wouldn't look at it as time. I'd look at it as prioritizing and executing. If I had my notebook here, you could see how I break up my life into sections. Right? And all these sections or these blocks that I have are things that I have to focus on to be successful. So for example, family is the number one block. How much do I need to invest in my family in order to be considered happy and successful? And then how much do I need to spend time on doing research and staying smart, staying ahead of the game in business and what's going on in the world? How much do I need to invest in branding? What I'm doing here is branding. I'm not selling anything. I'm not, doing any type of sales pitch. This is just building my brand. And building brand is a fancy way to say I'm building my reputation. How much time do I need to spend doing this? Right? So I actually map out not so much how many hours I work a day, because that can fluctuate, but what are the big things I need to accomplish? What are the smaller things that can wait? Prioritize and execute them, and spend as many hours as it takes to get the things that need to be done. Like, for example, if you guys saw the video that I shot with my son, I had this on my to-do list for a while. The video I shot about my son wanting to start a video game publishing company, and we basically addressed the video to Bethesda Softworks, the video game company not far from where I live. And we kind of made it a funny video like, Bethesda, please help my son become a video game publisher. Well, last night I sent that video to Bethesda. They said, Roger, let us know when your son makes good on what you told him to do, and we'll bring you to the studio. That's important. That's branding. That's building relationships. Now, I'm not doing it to make business come out of it. This is something I want to do for my son, to build a lasting memory that, wow, dad got me a tour of the place where freaking Skyrim is made, right? Like, come on. That, you can't buy that. But how much time did that take? I mean, it took me 48 seconds to write the email. It took me 2 minutes and 18 seconds to make the video, right? So, you know, that's the thing that happens. Dreamer says, sorry about your teacher. I was too. But, she lived a strong 87 years. And by the way, she was still teaching when she passed away. That's how much she cared about us kids. Funny story about her. The school loved her so much that my freshman year in high school, I got blamed for throwing a stink bomb at her house. She lived in my neighborhood. I didn't throw the stink bomb. I got blamed for it. One of my boys came home. He was a year ahead of me, and he was playing football. And he's like, I wouldn't come out of the house today because the football team found out about the stink bomb issue. They think you did it, and they're headed over here to kick your ass. And I said, well, can you please go tell them that I didn't do it? He's like, oh, you didn't do it? I said, no, I didn't do it. It was, and I told him who it was. I said, but don't tell him it was him, because I don't want him to get beat up. Like, and by the way, my freshman year in high school, I was 5'3", 114 pounds. So you can do the math on the short work the football team was going to make of me. And then I ended up playing on the team like 2 years after that. But, that's how awesome this teacher was. That's how much the school loved her. Pascal says, your son gets to go to Bethesda? Yep. As soon as he makes good on what I told him to do. Like, it was funny in the email Bethesda wrote back to me. They're like, hey, tell us where your son is drawing. Because basically the deal was, if my son draws 100 comics and puts it on the internet, because I'm trying to get him better at art, then I'll request Bethesda to give us a tour. So I won't say her name, but the young lady that works there wrote back. She's like, hey, hip us to where he's making this content so we can know how much time we have to set up the tour. So yes, my son will get a tour of Bethesda, and I will certainly film whatever they let me film, and whatever they don't make me sign, like a waiver or a non-disclosure agreement for. So I'll definitely show you guys what happens there. So I imagine we'll probably make that tour in a couple months. Hopefully when it's warmer outside. Let's see. How can I find a mentor, says Bassie? Start with books. You're talking to one now. Find people that you're connected to, teachers, family members that have your best interest at heart. Pay them. That's a great way to do it. That's what I do a lot of times, is pay mentors, because I find that if I give someone money, a funny thing happens. They are then way more dedicated to helping me than people that I don't pay, because they know if they don't help me, it's going to mess up their reputation. It's a funny thing that happens when money changes hands. I'm a big advocate of paying coaches, because I do it all the time. I just told you guys I paid to go to a mastermind with a person I consider a friend. Like, I wouldn't even dream of asking, can I just come? Nope. I would have bought 2 tickets. Let's see. Manisha says, how do you ask the right people to help you and overcome this fear of being taken advantage of? So I think part of it is just accepting the fact that sometimes you're going to be taken advantage of, and it's usually not the end of the world, right? And you learn from it every time. Every time you fail or something doesn't go your way, you learn, right? And the fear is probably somewhat irrational because someone taking advantage of you often doesn't have as bad an outcome as you may be thinking about in your mind. So getting over the fear is just doing it afraid. Like I get people all the time, I'm scared to do this. What do I do? Do it scared. Like, do you think I wasn't scared when people were shooting at me in war? You think I was just hard, like I'm just cold blooded gangster, just yeah, shoot at me, yeah, keep shooting. Like, no, I was scared out of my mind. But I had to do what I had to do. And then eventually, when you're in war long enough, you stop being so scared. I mean, you still get nervous, obviously, for natural reasons, but you're not as jittery like when you first get there. Just do it afraid. Ask my man, the Jolly Mage, how he got over his fear, and now he's become an actor. He did it afraid. I guarantee you, he'll write that in the comments. He'll say, "Yep, he did it. He was afraid. I guarantee the first time he went in there, he did it afraid." Let's see. Nanobot says, "I'm not being disrespectful. It's hard to say when no people ask for favors, but when you do learn, when you help, and when not to, you overcome those fears." Yeah, that's a good point. Justin Miller says, "Money makes it happen." I mean, just money is a good way to do it because think about it. And this is what I always find really interesting because inevitably when you sell a product, there's people that will accuse it of being a scam, right? Or you're taking advantage of people. I said, think that point through for a second. Just think very rationally about what you're saying. So, what you're saying is that this person that sold thousands of products is taking advantage of everyone who bought it. And by the way, you're saying you're smarter than those thousand people because you're not going to be fooled, right? I'm going to show you how ridiculous this thinking is. Because this is the type of thinking mindset that holds people back. Like, I'm not giving him $500 to coach me. Like, first of all, it should be 5,000 if it's good enough because of the value you get out of it. But like, that's taking advantage of people. Well, okay, if the dude or female was taking advantage of people, wouldn't that eventually come out? Like, wouldn't somebody eventually say, yeah, I gave this cat $200 and all he did was talk about his money? Like, he didn't actually help anybody. Eventually, especially in the internet age, that would get exposed. In fact, people would probably copy the videos if it was a video course and put them on YouTube, which they do with mine too, by the way. My book is all over the place. Like when I used to sell my book, it was free like within a month. You could find it online. Because someone's like, B, they're stealing your book. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's the way this works. Not worried about it. If someone gets it for free and wins, God bless them. But it's like, I'm not going to let these people take advantage of me. It's like, wait a minute. Like, don't look at it from the other person's perspective. If I or you were going to sell a product for $500, wouldn't you be really, really motivated to do a good job for the person because you know they're spending a lot of money? Of course you would, because you know if you didn't, they would go tell people that you suck and then you'd never sell anything again. That's why it's so ridiculous when I hear people, I'm not paying nobody to coach me. Well, then, like, you get what you pay for, bro. Like, it'd be like if you walk in a car dealer, I ain't paying them for this car. You need to give me a car, son. Okay, here's the car that we give away for free. You think that's going to have a lot of safety? Consumer Reports gave that a 10 out of 10 safety rating. Probably not. It's probably like the Flintstones where you got to drive it with your feet. And so when you pay someone, and one of my coaches that I pay, when you look at what he does when you pay him, by the way, once you pay him once, you never pay him again. You can just come to any of his coaching events in your area forever. And he gives more value than almost every coaching program I've ever been in. Almost everyone. And by the way, his was a third of what I've paid for other programs that barely. His was a third of what I've paid for programs that teach a lot less than things that I teach in my programs for less money. This guy's a millionaire. Like actually, I'm sorry. He's almost a billionaire. And for a third of what I've paid for other courses, he's given me like literally 72 hours of legit, I can't take notes fast enough content. So, and he's adamant about like, if someone's going to give me their money, I'm going to do everything in my power to help them win. Like his motto is, you guys are family once you come in. You know, where do you think I learned it from? And Jolly said, yep, I was terrified. Yes, he was. But anyway, that's how you get mentors. Look around where you are, read books, watch videos. A lot of my mentoring comes from free stuff too, not just paid. You know, a lot of people tell me, oh, I'm strapped for cash. Okay, well, read books. You won't be strapped for cash all the time. You'll learn something and read books about making money. And then you'll learn ways to make money that helps you make money that you can then invest into more books, into more training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just something to think about. All right. Is it Damien? I can't read this. The names are always so small. My computer says, is it fear or intuition? Should I trust myself or ignore my instincts? And how can you tell the difference between confidence and ignorance? That is a loaded question, or it's like a lot of questions in one. Is it fear or intuition? I don't know the answer to that. Should I trust myself or ignore my instincts? It depends on the situation. And how can you tell the difference between confidence and ignorance? Well, confidence, are you saying confidence and arrogance, maybe is what you meant? Here's the difference. Michael Jordan tells people he's one of the best basketball players that's ever lived, and then he does it. I tell people I'm one of the best basketball players that ever lived, and I never even made the high school team. That's the difference between confidence and arrogance. Let's see. Alyssa says, who is this guy? Your mentor. Oh, my mentor? The one I was talking about that goes out of his way to help people. It's a guy named JT Fox. I saw Jolly's message and then he just deleted it. Yeah, that's just one of my many mentors. And in fact, he's got a team of people. He only does part of it. It's really, there's another guy in there named Damien who's freaking phenomenal. It's actually the CEO of his company. That dude is legit. Warrior stats. Anyway, friends, I'm going to bed unless you got some more questions. And even if you do have more questions, I'm going to bed. Just wanted to talk with you. It was going to be a 20-minute call tonight, but alas, here we are. Talking for an hour. Hopefully you got some benefit out of it. Alicia says, thank you, Brian and Jolly. Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasures. My pleasures. And by the way, I don't know if you guys are on my mailing list. I sent out a message today seeing if anybody needed anything. Does anybody need anything before I go? Anything at all? Single Sniper says, great content. Taj Marie says, thanks for the chat. Thank you, thank you. It's my honor. I'm glad you guys dig it. Manisha says, thank you. Brooke says, thanks, guy. Keep up the work. Will do, Brooke. Thank you. JT says, thank you. Need you to keep being great. Well, as long as you guys keep showing up, we'll do it. I promise you that. Magic Dragon says, right, man, have a good sleep. I will. Thank you. Bassy says, thanks. Dreamer says, anyway, answer my question when you can be. Retype it. I didn't see it. I didn't see your question. I'll answer it tonight if you repost it. So yeah, you guys gotta remember, like the stream goes nuts and sometimes I miss stuff. Daniel Go says, thanks, B. Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for watching. By the way, let me ask a question before everybody runs out of here. How many of you have joined my 69 Pillars of Success program? Not just watching it on YouTube, but you're actually getting it on the website the way it's intended to be watched. How many of you guys joined the site? If you did, say I. Just type I in the comments. Keep it simple. Jolly Mage says, how do you deal with people that can't respect your decisions and are willing to abandon you for the sake of God? I'm not blaming God for anything. I just mean they are willing to let go of family. Manisha says, thank you for INFP content. It really helped me and changed my way of thinking. Cool. So Jolly, I'm not sure I understand the question. It says, how do you deal with people that can't respect your decisions and are willing to abandon you for the sake of God? So are you saying you believe in God and they don't want to deal with you? Or that was Dreamer's question. Dreamer, is that what you were trying to say? If you're still here. If not, we'll get to it on another show. And Jolly says, should I let them go even if it means being shunned by my family? I try to think of a positive outcome, but I can't. Well, I mean, a lot of that depends on your circumstances. Like, if you're living in someone else's house, there's a certain level of playing the game you got to do to survive. You know, it's as a person who was once had a parental figure try to throw them out of the house for something he didn't do, that can get kind of scary, right? But you really have to assess the situation. It's very hard for me to give you specific advice on such a broad question without a lot of context. So Dreamer says they believe in God and I kind of don't. Okay. Well, I mean, your belief or lack thereof in God, I'm not quite sure. Like, are you vocal about it? Like, you arguing with him about whether God exists? Because if that's the case, just be cool. Like, just don't, like, just be on the low with it. You don't need to, I guess I don't understand. Like, I have a friend who doesn't believe in God. I do. It's not like I'm checking on him, like, you believe in God yet? Like, hey, Slim, you got Jesus yet? Like, it's just, I accept the fact that he doesn't believe. Um, Bassie says, what advice would you give someone who is about to drop out of college to pursue entrepreneurship? It would depend on the person. You know, if you are 19 and getting ready to pursue entrepreneurship, rock on. Just make sure you have a mentor that's going to show you how to do it right. If you are 30 and you have 9 children, probably don't do that. Like, if you're going to drop out of school, make sure there's a plan for what you're going to do next, right? And just make sure, like, it comes down, Bassie, it comes down to self-awareness. Like, are you an entrepreneur? Do you have the stuff? Like, you cannot believe how unbelievably harder it is. And granted, it comes with awesome benefits. Running your own business is amazing. But you can't imagine how much harder it is to do that than it is to have a job, for example, because everything depends on you. Right? And a job, you're usually a part of a team, and your money's pretty much guaranteed as long as you don't burn the building down. Right? As an entrepreneur, you know, you are not guaranteed, and not that you're guaranteed in a job either. And believe me, the freedom of running your own business is way better than having a job. But that's if that's what's in you to have, right? But you really have to test yourself and say, am I the person that it's a lonely lifestyle? You know how many of my family and friends are entrepreneurs? Like, in my family that I grew up with and friends. You want to know how many of them are entrepreneurs or have any entrepreneurial desire? 3. So it can be a lonely road when you're blazing this trail and you were raised to make sure you got a good job, dadgum, go to school, get your education that you'll never use. You know, so it really depends. You got to be self-aware. You really need to dig deep and figure out why you want to be an entrepreneur. And it's not because you want to be an entrepreneur. It's because you want something else and you think entrepreneurship's going to get you there. You just better be sure it's going to and that you have the skill to make it work. All right. Joshua says, thanks for the chat. And yes, I need to know when you're coming to NYC so I can take you out to dinner, my brother. That would be awesome, man. I'd love for someone that knows New York. Now, granted, last time I went to New York, I was very tired because I had my kids with me, and New York is very busy. But yeah, I'd be cool with that. I don't think I have any events coming up in New York. I think my next event's going to be in San Diego, which may be as soon as Super Bowl weekend. So maybe going there to do a business deal. But we'll see. And then I think I'm going to Portland to do a conference in August. I don't know that I have any New York. My wife was in New York a couple months ago. Dreamer says, no, I don't argue. I believe there is someone out there. I just don't pay much attention to it. Yeah, I mean, just be cool. Like if you're having a different belief system than someone else, just accept that theirs is different and accept that they may feel the inclination or the need to try to convince you that they're right. And just say, yeah, man, I appreciate your thoughts. I'll take it. I'll take that under consideration and be cool about it. Cool. Anyway, great questions, friends. As always, it has been a pleasure to serve you. Love you all very much. Remember that we are stronger than I. And I have a memorial service to go to. I don't think, matter of fact, I don't think I've made this public yet, but you guys know that my dad passed away in June. His brother passed away on Monday. So I'm going to be at the memorial service for that tomorrow. Don't know if I'll be filming. Probably still will anyway. But as you can imagine, the family's it's been a long 2 years to say the least. But everyone's in good spirits. Everyone's still coming together, staying strong. So I love you guys very much. We'll end on a positive note. Stay strong. Keep striving for the things you believe in. Don't give up. Keep the right mindset. Get someone to help you. The third pillar for tonight, the thing I wanted you to focus on that I didn't get to was you need to also immerse yourself. And like this question about entrepreneurship, go be around entrepreneurs, go to masterminds, go to conferences, go to networking events, be around other entrepreneurs, hear their stories, listen to what they're doing, learn from them. And if that sounds like what you want to be, you immerse yourself in it and you're self-aware and you know that's what you want, boom. Then you'll know exactly, you won't have to ask me for advice. You'll know. You'll have that burning desire. Like I had no question in my mind that I need to run my own business. None. Why? Because I'm a terrible employee. I don't work well for other people, especially if I don't believe in what they're selling. Been there. You know, the army is a little bit different because you believe in the mission, you believe in the guys you're fighting with. And even if you don't believe in the mission, you believe with the guys you're sworn to protect. So there's that motivating factor. But you go work somewhere where you don't believe in what's happening, you think you're gonna be a great employee? Now, granted, don't go to your job tomorrow and be like, Brian told me I could be a terrible employee. Like, nope, don't do that. Still try to be good. But just know yourself is the point. Joshua says, just signed up for the 69 pillars through your website. Sounds great. Uh, I'll be ready when you do come around. Have a blessed night. Time with the fam. Will do, man. I love you guys, man. Remember, we are stronger than I. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.